Well, welcome everyone to another episode of DeFi Truth. And first of all, I want to say a very happy Father's Day to the fathers out there and prospective fathers. Um, let's have a wee dram. This is from my cask. And interestingly, don't know where you can see it on the camera because it's a bit sunny. You can see that the bottle actually has a blue tint. This is Johnny Walker Blue Label. And you can tell the quality of a whiskey just by the weight of the bottle. It's twice as heavy as any other whiskey bottle, especially in the Johnny Walker Blue Label, the Johnny Walker stable. And also the size of the bottles. If you were to put sort of like red, black, green, double black, gold, and then the blue label next to each other, the size of the bottles is a gradient like this. I wish that was like crypto all the time. So how's everybody doing? Well, cheers. We dram before we start. It's been another exciting week for many reasons, but maybe not so much PulseChain. Let's go straight to have a look at the price of coins that we are seeing this week and particularly today on PulseChain. So if I can just present you with what is a good one? A Go Pulse is probably an interesting one. And we can see here that the price of Pulse, hey, it's up 1.79%, but still at a paltry 4 knots and a 3, 1/3 of what it was. PulseX is also up by 3%, and HEX is up, Ink is up, so up just very slightly. So that's good news. But the problem is that since the launch of PulseChain, okay, sorry if you can't see me, by the way, it's very sunny. It's been quite disappointing. I mean, hexagons, don't forget, I was in HEX right from day one, got a lot of people into HEX. You can even see my photograph on the front page of the hex.com site. Maybe you should unmute me, Richard Hart. The advert that was in the paper, that's me holding that paper. That's me reading the advert, sitting on the terrace of the Mandarin Hotel in London. So I am a holder of all these bags, HEX, Pulse, PulseX, Ink, and of course, PulseZen. I think people have lost their way particularly on this trend. I mean, it all started off euphorically, and very quickly that euphoria disappeared when the prices started to go down. Then, of course, along came the SEC case, along came the Interpol case, all the FUD that we were used to on the HEX, when HEX was available on Ethereum only. PulseChain, let's not forget, the original idea behind PulseChain was the fact that the S load had become massively expensive on Ethereum. And that meant anybody that was going to unstake HEX in a few years' time was going to be faced with a massive fee to do so. And it became untenable. So that's why Richard Hart, in his eminence, decided on copying the Ethereum blockchain in order to make PulseChain. That's why it all came about, for those of you who don't remember. And of course, the transactions have been incredibly cheap. Problem is, the coins have been incredibly cheap as well. And herein lies the problem. We've not only had the SEC case, we've still got the Interpol case going on, we've still got the tax case going on in Finland. I'm not fudding this. I feel that these things are going to be resolved in time, but just not in time, if you see what I mean. We're already halfway through the month of June when things should have started to pick up. before I carry on, let me just show you the external macroeconomic factors that are really, really important. I think it is, you know, I've said forever that, you know, we are seeing the printers already switched on. What that means is, I hope you can see this. This is the MT, the money supply. And this is basically printing money. This is an estimate of or a graph of the extra dollars that are being printed right now. And what that means is the banks supposedly are supposed to be able to give cheaper money, which will stimulate the economy because you'll get a few dollars in your pocket. Wouldn't it be nice to receive a tax check from Mr. Donald Trump, just like during COVID? And guess where that should go? No prizes for guessing that one. So that is the central banks. And I think the other thing that I've continually said this year is that interest rates are going to be cut. Now, they already have. The Swiss National Bank, the UK Bank, Indian Bank, lots of others following. United States, we're waiting for, and Jerome Powell, if you're listening to this, for God's sake, please cut the interest rates because you're going to be out of a job if you don't, because it doesn't fit in with Donald Trump's plans. So just looking at this briefly, you've got United States, the current is 4.5, United Kingdom is 4.25, Canada 2.75, China's at 3%, but the rest of our economy is a mess. Denmark 1.75%, and Europe 2.15%. Now, I know that you lot don't care about macroeconomics, but they are tied into crypto in as much as, how much extra money is available to pull yourself along in this now ledger driven economy. I mean, that's what we are. We don't have store of value in our monetary economies anymore, which is why I don't understand the Bitcoin thing. It's been totally hijacked, and they're pushing this narrative of store of value, when in actual fact, all economies now are a ledger valuation system. You are just a number on a ledger, including PulseZen. And of course, the difference is that you can pull yourself along on the ledger system because you're getting more PulseZen. You're becoming more relevant every single day. So let's just carry on and look at the different currencies that are available to you on PulseChain. We'll just go through them one by one because I think a lot of people either have forgotten what it's all about or we've got new people coming along. So let me quickly recap. So HEX, the old G of PulseChain, that's why we're here. We had to do something about the gas fees, and HEX made PulseChain become real. So what is it? Well, it's the original certificate of deposit. I was enamored by it when I first saw it, how it was going to work. But of course, what this protocol does is if you do not stake your HEX, if you do not lock up your HEX to exchange for a t-shirt in exchange for more HEX later on, depending on the length of time that you've locked up your coins for and how many, you're completely out of control of your own money until the stake date that you chose becomes up to valuation. Now, the problem with that is, what if you've put so much money away and during the time period you've locked it up, 2, 5, 15 years, whatever, you desperately need to have that money? Well, I'm sorry to inform you that, well, yes, you can get it back, but guess what? Because you're not complying with the contract date that you initially set yourself, we are going to penalize you very much, and that all gets redistributed to the rest of us. So there are some things to note about HEX. And if you are not staked, then you are dependent only on the price of HEX going up. And considering it's about 80% down today, then we're not doing very well on that. Also, right now on the staking business, Richard Hart has deemed it appropriate. I don't know really, well, you can argue what the reasons are, but the yield from staking your HEX has now gone ridiculously low. It's hardly worth it. So, because of what he's done. So, right now, at this very moment in time, HEX, a great protocol, go and buy lots of it. I own lots of it, so I want the price to go up. Is a great protocol. Now, that's HEX. Let me know what you feel. Now we come on to Pulse, the coin Pulse, not PulseChain, because PulseChain, being a copy of Ethereum, they copy the whole gas fee structure as well. Only the native coin is, of course, Pulse. Now, at sacrifice, we know some people got it at one and a bit more. Now look at it. It's dropped by about 98% since we sort of like went to all-time high. That is not good. However, which way you want to look at that, that's not good. That is a terrible investment up to date. You could have put it anywhere and made more money, I'm sure. But there we are. This is where we are with Pulse. Now, as I'm not fudding this, by the way, I'm still very happy with PulseChain and eventually the price of Pulse because Pulse is the native gas token. And a lot of people have forgotten the fact that Pulse is actually deflationary because you have to pay your gas fee dependent on various different factors, how much the gas is going to be. But that fee is split then into two parts. 75% of it goes to the miners as a reward for actually protecting and securitizing the system. But 25% of it is used, this is the gas fee, is used to buy Pulse off the market and burn it. Well, it gets sent to an address that nobody has access to, so therefore it's as good as gone forever. So Pulse is deflationary. Now, if you couple that fact with increasing action on PulseChain, which is going to happen, despite Richard's problems, this chain isn't up to Richard. It's up to the market to use it and to bring money into it. Those are the people that are going to be more interested in raising the price, or not interested in. They will see that the more money that pours in, the higher the valuation of not only Pulse, but all the tokens, but in particular Pulse. So therefore, it's inbuilt that Pulse will eventually be going to the moon, as they say. It will eventually increase greatly. I know it doesn't seem like it at the moment. We've had 2 years of terrible, terrible news, but Pulse is positioned to be in those two economic tokenomics. Pulse will eventually break out and it will be a great token to hold. Undoubtedly, it just has to. So then we came across PulseX. Now, PulseX is a very interesting concept because the people that owned Pulse right at the beginning, they were the people that provided the liquidity for PulseChain. In the farm section, you were rewarded not only for using PulseX, which is what this coin is all about, it rewards you for being a liquidity provider, and you can also farm it. But really, it's a reward token. It's a reward token for being a liquidity provider on PulseX. And the other thing is that you can buy it now. You can actually buy a slice of the machine because people who made not ink, PulseX in the first place, were able to sell it on the open market. So the value was going up. Also, ink is deflationary. PulseX is deflationary as well. A certain portion of the PulseX that is given out is burnt forever, and the token supply is going down. I think if I look at the figures, there's a fee of about 0.29%. Yes, 0.29% because Ethereum is 0.3%. So there had to be some bragging rights there. So we've got 0.29%. Out of that 2.9% fee, about 0.06 is actually burnt for everybody that holds a liquidity position on the Pulse on the PulseChain chain. That's how this works. It's also deflationary. So it is, you know, when the chain increases in volume, people will get more PulseX and more PulseX gets burnt. So again, a double whammy there where you're looking at tokenomics. Unfortunately, the price of that is still down about 80%, 90%, even today, which is not good in any way, shape, or form. Now, as I mentioned in mispronunciation, we have the INC token, and the INC token is the incentive token, and it's very interesting. That is definitively only for liquidity providers. And the interesting thing about INC is, you know, you are, it's like if you were to present this to a bank or a financial institution, they might look at this and think, this might be something that we're interested in because the liquidity is so deep. There's quite a lot available on the chain, enough to pique the interest of a financial institution. Not that we want a financial institution to take over at all, but it shows you the depth of interest in this token. And if it gets more so, you know, you're getting ink for free when you are a liquidity provider. You can buy ink on the market right now, and you could see the price go back up to $8, $9, $10 from its paltry price right now today of about 1.4. So again, tokenomics wise, it's quite a good token to look at or to hold in your portfolio. But it's not looking good so far, is it? Tell me what you think in the comments. Sludge you are, everyone. Hope you're having a very good Father's Day. Any comments on any of this stuff that I'm basically recounting? Like we should all know. Now we come to PulseZen. And, you know, PulseZen beats all of them hands down. Because with all the other coins, you have to take some action. You have to sort of like say, with HEX, you have to stake yourself. You have to determine how much you're going to stake, for how long, blah, 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 blah. You've got to watch it. You've got to then unstake it at the time. That's out of your control. It just has to be unstaked or you're going to lose all your money. And similar things are all the other coins. Now, with PulseZen, it's just for holders, You just simply buy and hold because the 2% pay it forward deduction that takes place on every buy, and by the way, transfer, if you transfer HEX from one wallet, PulseZen from one wallet to another, you're going to pay the fee, which maybe not a lot of people realize. Now, without any input from you from now on in, once you've bought your PulseZen, you're going to get more PulseZen from every single transaction. No action required from you. There is no staking. There is no lockup. There is no swapping around or injecting liquidity into liquidity pools, although you can do that if you want. It's just going to be there. It's going to be continually paying you. It's going to increase your position in this ledger system of finance that we are dealing with right now in all our economies. Store of value went out the window years ago. It really did. We're in a ledger-based economy, all of us. You know, your whole life is determined by a ledger, your credit score, the way you live, everything is actually controlled by that ledger. You go to a bank and you haven't got $1 million in the bank and you want a loan of $1 million, you're not going to get it. It's as simple as that. It is crazy. The banks treat you as their asset. They use your money as they like, and not even your money. We all know that banks print money out of thin air. They don't even need you. They really don't. So it's a very, very drastically terrible system that we're all living in, and we've got to drag ourselves out of it. We have to do something positive. Now, I like all the four coins on Richard Hart, but PulseZen, I assure you, was designed as an adjunct to those tokens to give you an alternative. And the alternative is you just buy and hold. That's it. No shenanigans. So if you believe in real yield decentralization, don't forget there's no admin keys, there's no oversight from anybody. You react with the code, and that's it. There's no middleman. It's as simple as that. Um, it's simple, it's elegant, it's one of the best protocols out there, but it's not given the kudos that it deserves. It will eventually, because we're not going anywhere. PulseZen is immutable code. More and more people will get to hear about it as more people become aware of what cryptocurrency and DeFi is all about. I mean, if you think about it, DeFi is just about remembering self custody, is just about remembering your own seed words, seed phrase. That's the only thing that self custody actually means. Everybody can do that somehow along the way. You can remember your seed words and you can get out of the stacked against you TradFi system and join a real DeFi economy that exists right now that you can be part of forever. This is something that you can teach your children about, which is pretty relevant seeing as it's Father's Day. It's going to last for generations. And I know you've heard it all before, but you're so early. You're so lucky to have heard of it right now. Excuse me. What do you guys think? I mean, you might say that I'm trying to get people to buy my coin instead of HEX. Not true. All we've done is given you an alternative because some people aren't able to make those decisions. Some black swan event happens and you really need access to that money. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't invest more money than you can afford to lose, but you don't want to not have access to the money that you have. Sometimes that is a key point. Um, and so the alternative was absolutely necessary. And again, the premise of HEX kind of really disappeared a bit because the yields are so low that locking your HEX up now isn't worth it. All you've got is price appreciation. And on that, are we going to see Richard Hart spending his own money on these coins to pump up the price? I very much doubt it. I think actually he may even do a Satoshi Nakamoto, and he will never be involved in the coins that he created again. Because why? I mean, it would be very benevolent and nice of him to actually buy up the price of the coin, but that's not how this game works. It's his money. The courts have already said it's his money. If you were stupid enough to sacrifice for funny money a coin, and he ran away with, no, he didn't run away, of course not. If he is actually got Ethereum and Bitcoin and real fiat tokens, they're his. He can do with it what he pleases. I hope he chooses to spend some money on PulseChain, but that ain't guaranteed whatsoever. What we are really looking at is an influx of new money. And the good news is it's coming because over the next years, we're going to see something like 3 trillion market cap go to 28 trillion. And we're going to see alternative coins that are now called, that is, anything that's not Bitcoin and Ethereum, we are going to see the prices go ballistic. We have to, because simply the demand will be so much greater for everybody, including PulseZen. There's no question, no question in my mind. I used to tell people a similar story when we were talking about HEX. People didn't understand HEX. They thought it was a scam. They continued to think it's a scam, and fairly vocal influencers made sure that that message got across. And of course, that happened to us in PulseZen right at the very beginning. And even now, people will say PulseZen is just a scam. Yes, we are tiny, but that doesn't mean we're always going to be tiny. Think about that. I mean, I keep playing this video, but I think it's so, so important. Bear with me. Let me just see if I can find this. These are today's prices, right? And we're merely looking at the perspective of, you know, what's going to happen. And I don't know. I really don't know. Um, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So I'll just pick this one out. Alt Season says we want PZEN to go up. That is for sure. And we will. We will see more liquidity pumping into this, and it may surprise you. One God candle, sorry, excuse me. Got a tickly throat. One God candle, which we haven't seen yet, can change the price by 10x overnight, 100x overnight. And if we keep going from there, we're golden. Absolutely. But anyway, let me just show you something. This is today's numbers.
The power of PulseZen is in the compounding interest code. Let's look at today's numbers. 1 million PulseZen at $0.00085. It would cost $850. The daily pay it forward code can average for the year 500 PulseZen per 1 million held. So you are making about 43 cents a day, or $155 or so a year. So that works out to a very nice 18.2% a year, no staking, no lockup. However, if we allow ourselves to imagine the growth in PulseZen, imagine daily volume increases, and price is 30 cents. Everything looks shockingly different. The daily PIF is now $120 a day, at 30 cents per PulseZen. That generates compounding rewards of about $43,800 a year, which is a staggering 1,460% APY. Go see for yourself at pulsezen.app.
Well, there we have it. I mean, it will just take a very small input to make PulseZen go ballistic price-wise, but the real magic of this protocol is PulseZen. Now, I have to mention the fact that we started on Ethereum because PulseChain was delayed. Never meant to start on Ethereum, but we just thought, why not? Let's do it, because Ethereum gas fees will come down over time, and they have substantially, as you've seen, especially with the latest Pectra upgrade. And we're going to see more and more of that. What we haven't seen is marketing of Ethereum and PulseZen on Ethereum, which seems to be by the market forgotten. Now, somebody just said here, hi, Fogel, when will ETH start moving to break the old all-time high? Well, this is the perennial $1 million question. I have predicted that the price of ETH would go to 5,000 by the end of last year. And look what happened. And I've got a pretty good crystal ball. Actually, I haven't. I've got balls of steel. I don't have a crystal ball. But I'm staggered that we didn't hit the 5,000 mark at the beginning of the year. Now, several things have happened since then. We've had the Pectra upgrade. More of that later, but the thing that seems to be happening right now, I believe, throughout my research, is Ethereum is being bought over the counter, not raising the price, but Ethereum is being sold. It's being sold to institutions. That brings to mind BlackRock. We are going to see institutions holding an awful lot of Ethereum. And I think until they've got enough to be comfortable, we're not going to see big price rises. But I think, mark my word, by the end of this year, if we don't hit $5,000, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm pretty sure that we are. What do you think, Fergal? What's your take on it? Let us know in the comments. Okay, let's just go through. D'Artagnan H says, well, he's just a very nice guy. Go and look at his channel, by the way. He's very, very smart. Got some really good concepts going on, and he's a great supporter of PulseZen, as is our good old friend Zero Zenite. And he's trying to impress you with the idea that, not impress you, impress upon you the idea of the best strategy for PulseZen is to buy and hold, which it is. You know, we are definitely living in an inflection point of history where the crossover of the available technology and the, anger of the man in the street, there's now a solution. We've never been, or actually we have been, at a crossroads where the haves and the have-nots, the ratio between the haves and the have-nots has never been so high. This has always led in past history to revolution. And it's the same today. Only this time, it's the crypto revolution. People are taking control of their own finances. They are starting to understand that self-custody comes down to one little keyword sequence. They are realizing that they've been lied to by the governments all their lives. I mean, what a stuff up they've made of the fiat currency store of value system. I mean, if you just go back to Nixon days, he had no choice in his reign to get the dollar away from the gold standard because he'd spent so much money that, first of all, the French called him out and said, "Oi, you've been spending a lot of dollars. We do not believe that you have the gold to back it." And guess what? They were the first country to actually say, "Give us our gold back." And that was quickly followed by every other country who said, "Give us our gold back." And immediately he had a problem. There's the Vietnam War, the Social Security spending that was going on. They'd run out of money. And there was no way the economy could continue unless they cut the string to the gold standard, which he did. And we've been in this mess ever since because now governments can print as much money as they like. They just press a button, more dollars, because it's all electronic. Physical dollars hardly exist in the economy anymore. And that goes for other currencies as well, not just the dollar. So we're out of control. And the big thing, of course, is that they have gone to the credit system just unbelievably. I mean, the average American debt on a credit card is ridiculous. And half of them don't realize that the interest rate that they're being charged, over 25% more in some cases, it means that you'll never be able to pay that back properly in your lifetime. You've all been conned completely. And even the American economy is trillions and trillions and trillions in dollars of debt. This is why we had the debacle over the bond sale the other day, because they had to pay the interest on the money that they borrowed. Well, it's about 19 trillion, I believe, became due this year. And nobody wanted the bonds. Nobody wanted to give them more money. So they had to make it more and more attractive. They said they lied to you again. They said, "Oh, the bond market, the bond sale, bond auction was very successful this time." What that really means is, yes, it was a success, but only at the interest rate that they had to give in order for people to actually part with real money. Come in, Donald Trump. Now we've got this black swan event. But, to give him his due, he did tell people what he was going to do before he was elected. He told you that the tariffs were having to go up, otherwise It's just not going to work. And I think people have misread him. I think the whole bullying tactic idea of raising the tariff rates to unbelievable figures has brought people to the table. We are seeing deals made with all of these countries, and it does make a bit of sense. On that, also, the manufacturing of goods in America is going to come back, but it's not workers, it's not humans that are going to be doing the manufacturing. It's going to be AI and robots. You're not going to have toasters made in Michigan anymore, but they will be made by machines, and you won't have to buy your crappy toaster from China that breaks down every 5 minutes. You will get a decent product again from America. So this is actually a very interesting time that we live in. This will also go back in the future when people look back at 2025. They will see that this really was the beginning of the change of society, the change in how we live, because AI has started and it's never going to stop. Just like cryptocurrency, it's never going to stop. So we are in the midst of change. We're in the midst of the ledger economy being disrupted, and we're in an economy where the people are waking up. There's hardly any time on Twitter, for example, where you can't see somebody like Joe Rogan starting to actually dispel all the myths. I mean, I know he talks a lot of rubbish as well, but you know, these things are now available. Social media has made information more available. It means it needs more checking, but people are more educated than they used to be. Mainstream media is on the way out. There's no doubt about that, because they lie about everything. The difference is, I think they've always lied, but now we know. Our eyes are opened. And this is why PulseZen is going to be the best investment you've ever made. So, Slanjivar, everyone. Enjoy what's rest of Father's Day, and I will see you in the next episode. Well, good morning, my fellow Zenites. Did you check your PulseZen wallet balance with your coffee this morning?